and welcome. I am Gimba Umar. Tonight, oil workers suspend industrial action for 2 weeks as the Minister of Petroleum apologizes over inadequate consultations on planned reforms in the NNPC. Former Chief of Defence Staff, Air Chief Marshal Alex Bade gets rare bail condition in the sum of 2 billion naira and 2 sureties with 1 billion naira each. Our big story tonight examines the genesis and impacts of the herdsmen clash with indigents of Agatu Council in Benue State. And tension heightens in Korea's peninsula as North files missiles, threatens liquidation of South Korea's assets.
And on business news tonight, an energy expert predicts the restructuring of the NNPC will be a game changer for the oil and gas industry.
And in sports news, Latvian scientist and inventor of meldonium, Ivers Calvins, believes the drug should not be on WADA's list of forbidden doping substances.
And from Abuja, participants at a forum in the nation's capital call for a special fund to drive the anti-corruption policies of the present government.
We begin tonight in Abuja, where labor unions in Nigeria's oil sector, the National Union of Petroleum and Natural Gas Workers and the Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria have suspended their strike for 14 days. NUPENG's President Igwe Achese told Channels Television that the decision was taken following the intervention of the presidency and the clarification made by the Petroleum Ministry.
Mr. Minister himself has realized that there was a communication gap. He has also realized that there was no transparency in the process of his restructuring, that he came back to say he's no more unbundling, but he's now restructuring. We had this meeting yesterday with the interventions of series of meetings we had yesterday, and we had the final one with the Minister of State finally, and dragged it into early morning of today, which is about 5 o'clock. And the strike action was suspended. When you say a strike action is called off, it means all issues pertaining what led to whatever strike action has been resolved. And therefore, the strike action is what is called off. But in this case, the issue surrounding the restructuring has not been resolved. We've taken time to, itemize those issues, gray areas, vis-a-vis in terms of job security, in terms of economic value, in terms of the growth of NNPC and so on. And we've dot those I's and so on. In terms of also making sure that, unfortunately, like I said clearly, NNPC has policies, and those policies that keep NNPC as holy as it is should not be, discredited. And that is what we mean by suspending the strike action.
In the meantime, the Senate Committee on Petroleum and Gas Downstream has absolved the Group Managing Director of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, the NNPC, Dr. Ibe Kachiukwu, of any wrongdoing in his recent reorganization of the state oil firm. The committees gave Mr. Kachiukwu a clean bill at the meeting in Abuja. The committees, however, queried him for not consulting with the stakeholders in the sector and the National Assembly before announcing the planned reforms.
About a week ago, the NNPC Group Managing Director, Dr. Ibe Kachiukwu, announced the unbundling of the NNPC. His announcement was greeted with uneasiness and discontent in the oil and gas sector. Labor unions in the sector immediately downed tools, with unions in the NNPC embarking on a strike action, almost crippling the downstream sector. The National Assembly has waded into the crisis. The Senate committees on petroleum and gas are meeting with the Group Managing Director of the NNPC to understand why he took the decision to restructure the NNPC and the implications of his action.
Your own words, quoted, hopefully not in error, told the world that you are unbundling NNPC. And I think that's where this trouble began. You have subsequently told the nation that what you did was restructuring.
I may well have been misunderstood. But what I committed to you here, both at the swearing-in and in various sessions I've had here, is that it will not be business as usual, that we will run a profitable entity, that will create new ideas, that will create new challenges for people who are in the system, that will create new career paths for people, and will create accountability.
Lawmakers faulted the NNPC GMD for failing to consult with the National Assembly before embarking on the restructuring exercise.
I don't blame you for wanting to keep it within a small circle of people so that nobody will sabotage you. But if there's nobody that can be trusted in National Assembly to be told, then something is wrong.
First, I apologize if we didn't consult enough. I told you why. But true, it is not true that we did not at all get the leadership involved. We may not have cascaded it down to certain levels, but we did.
Members of the committees then went into a closed-door meeting with the NNPC GMD. They had this to say afterwards.
We were worried that he might be acting against the law, but having looked at the law with him, we found out that he did not contravene the law.
A joint committee of the House of Representatives also met with the NNPC GMD.
Had an upstream
he also
group,
tendered an apology to the lawmakers.
It's always had a downstream, which is CNI.
The committees advised the NNPC Group Managing Director to continue to consult with industry stakeholders going forward to avoid pitfalls in the restructuring exercise in the future. Linda Akibe, Channels Television News.
The dispute between the independent petroleum marketers and the Department of Petroleum Resources in Ilori in the Kwara State capital seems to be getting worse. Efforts made by the Department of Petroleum Resources to seal 2 petrol stations for hoarding were refuted by members of the independent petroleum marketers.
At this station, the DPR direct that the product should be sold to motorists. Almost 2,000 litres of fuel is hoarded. The sales girl at this fuel station fled on sighting the DPR team. There is no one to talk to. They are prompted to check the reserve tank and also called the owner, who only showed up 30 minutes later with members of Ipman. And an argument ensued.
So, seal this station for holding. Okay. Quickly, they are holding. Come, let me show you. You said you didn't know me. Of course. Yes. If you leave now, we all seal it and we start selling. We start selling. Okay. Because it's not your product. And it's not your station. But the way you are going about it, it will not work.
The owner and a member of Ipman insist they bought from private depot at a high price.
We are buying product from private depot. DPR is in Lagos. Everybody knows what they are selling in product. I can show you text. For me, the product they are selling, the price of the product in Lagos today is 105. When you buy product from 105, you have to add transportation cost. That's 6 naira. It's going to be 111. That is the landing cost. So we have to say we cannot continue. We have to pay salaries. We have to pay taxes.
But the DPR boss maintains that any fuel station selling above approved price will be sealed.
DPR, along with all federal government security agencies, will not fold their hands and see them cheated. The price government said this product should be sold is a price we're out to ensure that the public gets the product at the correct quantity, correct quality, and at the correct price.
The Ipman members also trailed the DPR team to other filling stations. But for the DPR, the fact still remains, fuel stations must comply with the approved price of 86 naira 50 kobo per litre.
We'll be having more discussions on the situation of the fuel scarcity in Nigeria as it looms today when we come back in just a moment. But just before we have that, the president has pledged that Nigeria and other members of the African Union High-Level Consultative Committee on South Sudan will ensure the peace agreement signed by the various political factions is successfully implemented. President Muhammadu Buhari told South Sudan's first Vice President, Dr. Riek Machar, that Nigeria and the committee will work with all stakeholders to overcome challenges hindering the implementation of the 7-month-old deal. President Buhari said, quote, "The situation must not deteriorate. Ethnicity and corruption are a lethal combination. You have to deal with them, otherwise instability will continue." End of quote. The federal government has named the governorship candidate of the All Progressives Congress Party in the 2015 governorship elections in Rivers State, Mr. Kachiukwu Pt.1, as the Director General of the Nigeria Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA. The appointment takes effect from today, March the 10th, 2016. Dr. Pt.1 was selected member House of Representatives in 2011 and served as Chairman, House Committee on Petroleum Resources Downstream. In part 2, after the break, officials of the Department of Petroleum Resources, the DPR, and Independent Marketers Association clash over the closure of a petrol station in Kwara State. We'll have an update on that story when we return. Stay with us.